This is the Super Mario Iceberg Explained. If you've never seen a video like this, it's basically the most known content up top, and as the video goes on, it gets more obscure and lesser known. Thank you so much for getting me to like 2,000 subscribers. If we get it going up to like 10k, I'll get a tattoo of my YouTube channel somewhere on my body. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. I also added timestamps to the video, so if you get bored, you can skip ahead to another layer. I promise it gets weirder and more interesting. But other than that, I hope you'll enjoy the video, and let's get into it. Luigi and Mario 64. I could honestly make a whole video over this topic, but to sum it up, when Super Mario 64 was announced, fans of the series just kind of assumed there would be a way to play as Luigi implemented into the game. However, when the game first came out, people realized there was no such feature anywhere. Most people just brushed this off as a choice of game design by the developers, but others didn't give up so quickly and truly believed that Luigi was somewhere in the game, but nobody had found him yet. It eventually came to have a lot of similarities with the how to get ray gun every time type of videos, where people would tell you a really specific input you need to give the game, and then it would give you Luigi in this case. I can personally attest to this because I remember spending like an hour at that fountain in SM64 on my DS trying to unlock Luigi, but it never worked actually. People even went through the game's actual files trying to find any trace of Luigi by data mining the endless amounts of code to hopefully find a way to unlock him that was possibly never added to the game but still lingered around in the official code. This didn't turn up any results, but miraculously 25 years after the game was released, Nintendo had a massive data leak which helped these Luigi-obsessed people finally find a development file for Luigi. So this means that at one point the creators actually did mean to put Luigi in there, but they never ended up going through with it. I'm pretty sure this is because the game could only hold so much space on it and they didn't have room to add Luigi. This is infinite one-up tricks, and in pretty much every level-based Mario game, there are ways to abuse certain elements of the game where you can get infinite one-ups. I recently just got done with another playthrough of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and in that game you can spend star coins for the game to tell you where all of these tricks are at. Most of the time the trick is just putting two Koopas in a closed off area, then repeatedly stomping on them, so it's not too crazy, because if Mario defeats enough enemies in a row, he starts to receive a one-up for every time he kills one. I'll talk about it later in the Iceberg, but these are pretty much like implemented into the game on purpose, so it's not really much of a glitch so much as it's more of a trick, but it can also be really useful, so it's nice to have in there. Toads turned into bricks. In the official game menu for Super Mario Bros. 1, it says that Bowser is known to turn the toads into bricks, which are scattered across all of the levels. Building on that, it must mean that Mario is actually evil, since he goes around breaking these brick blocks all the time. The reason this one is so high on the Iceberg, even if it's from like an obscure manual for the game, is because there's a game theory on this that's really popular, basically saying Mario's actually evil, but like it's not that crazy, they're kind of just bricks. Mario Mario and Luigi Mario. This is basically saying that the two brothers' surnames should be Mario, as they're both the Super Mario brothers, meaning their full names would be like Mario Mario and Luigi Mario. This idea is also used as a joke in the live action movie, but that's pretty much as far as this goes. Princess Toadstool and King Koopa. Originally, when translating the early Mario games into English from Japanese, Princess Peach was going to be called Princess Toadstool and Bowser was going to be called King Koopa. Yoshi on top of the roof in SM64. Hopefully y'all knew this about Super Mario 64, but basically Yoshi can be seen and talked to on top of the castle after obtaining all 120 stars throughout the game. There's also a minigame in some versions where Yoshi pulls off petals of a flower playing Love Me or Love Me Not. Very exciting stuff. I think I did it on the DS. It was very entertaining. Mario characters and other games. Of course, since Mario is one of the most popular and well-known characters in gaming, many other developers will pay homage to him in their games, like adding a skin that resembles him or something in that area. The most interesting instance of this to me is in Hitman and a contract where the player can go and assassinate Mario and Luigi. There's also a level in the Simpsons game where a bunch of Mario characters are seen being enslaved and basically working in a sweatshop to make games. It's kind of a funny commentary since the brand has like an endless amount of games and other media. Okay, one more because this is a little bit nuts. In Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and 2, there's an unlockable emblem that resembles an 8-bit Mario but in a more war-themed military color scheme. World 1-1. In the original Super Mario Bros. Game, there's actually a glitch that can send Mario into an infinitely looping water level. This happens because the game needs to count there being 256 levels in a world when there's usually only 8, and this was only accessible due to a mistake in the coding, but the rest of them can be visited by hacking, and they're all just kind of blank infinite levels that are placeholders in the game, so not really that interesting. Jumping over the flagpole. Again, in the original Super Mario Bros. Game, there's actually a glitch that you can do where you just completely skip over that end flagpole that's at the end of every level. Going over it doesn't really lead to anything special other than a flat plane to walk on that just never ends. It's also said that there's actually some lost levels in Super Mario Bros. 2, which contained Easter eggs past the castle if Mario glitches past the pole, but there's really no way to tell us if this is true or not. It's more of like a internet rumor. Okay, sorry for the interjection, we'll get back to the Mario stuff in a second. If y'all are enjoying the video, please leave a like so more people can see it. It really helps out a lot. Maybe subscribe, you don't have to, but I really appreciate y'all for watching, and let's get back to the video. US version of SMB2 is Doki Doki Panic. When the second installment in the Mario Bros series was released internationally, it wasn't actually the same game that people got in Japan. In reality, it was a reskinned version of a game called Yume Koju Doki Doki Panic. I'm not sure exactly why they chose to do this, but the original Doki Doki game, it's pretty similar to Mario, but like all Arab themed for some reason. But later in the Iceberg, it also refers to Doki Doki again, so be sure to remember that. Mario live action movie, also known as Super Mario Bros. The movie, this was a film released in 1993 all about the two brothers' adventure. It's actually the first feature-length film to be based on a video game, and the story's pretty interesting. It's basically 65 million years ago when the meteor that wiped all of the dinosaurs hit, it actually split the world into two different dimensions. Ours, where the dinosaurs died, and another where the dinosaurs were spared and they evolved into like humanoid creatures, which are basically the Koopas and the Bowsers. They even became so advanced where they made a whole city called Dino Hatton. Now back to the present day in our world, Mario and Luigi are two plumbers living in Brooklyn. Everything's normal, you know, the usual. Daisy's also working in Brooklyn at an excavation site looking for lost relics, but comes upon an intact piece of the meteor that split the dimensions in two. The conflict here is that King Koopa from the other world wants that rock so he can use it to combine the two worlds and then just completely take over everything. Other than that, I'm pretty sure some people said this movie predicted 9/11 because of a piece of promotional material that shows King Koopa toppling over one of the towers. It was also overall really just poorly received because it deviated so far from the original Mario canon, but it was kind of interesting to see this idea that they had. SMB2 is a dream. This is referring to how SMB2 was set in a dream dimension called Subcon because at the end of the game it pans out to see Mario was just sleeping the whole time. Some people misinterpret this to mean that it was just a dream of Mario's and none of it actually happened, but it all did take place. It's just in this separate dimension called Subcon that, you know, he only accessed through being asleep, so that's why we see him wake up at the end. Lost levels. There's no actual lost levels that this entry is talking about, but it's more so just a weird translation error when they released the international version and then translated it back into Japanese for SMB2. It's odd, but you know, lost levels, man. SMB3 is a play. Some people have realized that the art style of Super Mario Bros. 3 takes a lot of elements from how a stage play is normally performed. This led to theories saying it's actually all just a play, which surprisingly enough, Miyamoto actually confirmed to be true in an interview because I guess it is a play. Who knows? I don't know. I just make the YouTube videos. BOJ glitches. If you've ever watched a SM64 speedrun, you've definitely seen the backwards long jump glitch performed to skip through barriers in the game. Because there's no speed cap on a BOJ, the player can do this on stairs and go extremely fast, which allows them to clip into new areas past doors that would usually require a certain amount of stars to get through, but now they can just, you know, BOJ through it. Hotel Mario was a puzzle game released in 1994 for the Philips CDI. It's a pretty basic puzzle game, just now having Mario characters in it. It was just so horribly mid that people will consider it the worst Mario game to ever be made, which is really impressive considering how many Mario games there really are out there, so this is pretty bad. Intentional one-up glitches. This is just referring to those one-up glitches we were talking about earlier and how they're not actually glitches because like in Super Mario Bros. Wii, you can just go into the castle and spin your star coins to be shown an informational video on how to do this, so it's more of a feature put in the game, so it's not really a glitch. Toad's head. Ever since Toad was initially released, fans heavily debated over what exactly his head was. Some said it was a mushroom hat and their normal head was under it, but others would say it's a part of their body, sorta like a turtle shell. Finally though, in 2018, Nintendo officially announced that Toad's mushroom cap is a part of its body, and it doesn't just come off like in the Mario Bros. Show where Toad can be seen to take his cap off, so apparently that's not canon, but kind of funny to look at. Yoshi in Super Mario Bros. 1. In SMB1, apparently it turns out that Yoshi was actually supposed to be added in the series this early because people found early designs for him in the game files, but I guess the developers never decided to add him fully and just waited for the release of Super Mario World for Yoshi's debut, which makes sense. It's like his whole entire game, essentially. Bowser Jr.'s mom. Throughout the Mario series, it hasn't been revealed who Bowser Jr.'s mom is, and the closest we ever got is in Mario Sunshine where Bowser lied to him saying that Peach was his mom, but I'm pretty sure this just led to even more Rule 34 content, so that's awesome. However, not too long ago, Nintendo released a Q&A video where Miyamoto gets asked the question of, you know, who's Bowser's mother, and he jokingly points at himself, which this now means canonically Miyamoto did it with Bowser and gave birth to Bowser Jr. This is just what the radical left doesn't want you to know, alright? ROM hacks. This is pretty much just referring to all the hacked clients of the Mario games. People do this either to practice certain levels so you can replay it and just make the game easier to control, or just make the game more interesting by adding different mechanics. And it's honestly just like a broader grouping for any modified version of a Mario game. Mario dies on box art. In the box art for the NES version of Super Mario Bros. 1, we can see Mario falling into a pit of lava with fireballs headed after him, and this entry is pretty much just saying, you know, there's no way he survived this because there's just no way. The Year of Luigi was a special event hosted all year long by Nintendo for the 30th anniversary in 2013 of his addition to the series. A bunch of Luigi related content was released this year in celebration, like the specially branded Luigi 3DS's, Luigi's Mansion, Mario and Luigi Dream Team, genuinely one of the best games ever in my opinion, Super Luigi U, Luigi Bros, Dr. Luigi, and countless other Luigi themed merchandise, along with also branding the Nintendo website to be all Luigi themed. Super Nintendo World is a section in the Universal Studios Japan theme park, and recently having watched a full tour of the area, I had this childlike wonder sparked in me again at 18 years old because this place is actually so stunning. It's also colorful and noisy, and it just stimulates my brain in the best ways possible. Patrons to the park can also get a power-up band, which is used to hit blocks in the park for mini-games and collecting coins, which is just way too cool. As for attractions there, it includes a Mario Kart game with what looks like really advanced AR technology that projects items onto the ride while you're driving around. Yoshi's Adventure, which is like a ride-along tour of the whole park, which has spectacular views. The several power-up band challenges, which if done right can unlock a special fight against Bowser Jr., the 1-Up Factory gift shop, a bunch of main cast characters dressed up roaming around the park, and a Toad House restaurant. Hopefully one day I'll be able to visit this place, or even better, they open one up in the Orlando Universal Studios. Nintendo executives, if you're watching this somehow, please do that. Mario Kart rubber banding. This is referring to how in most Mario Kart games, the AI will speed up if you're ahead of them and then slow down if you're behind them to make the solo games a little bit easier for the player. Mario is Jumpman. In Mario's first game with Donkey Kong, he was officially referred to as Jumpman, and this entry is just pointing out that they're actually the same person, even if some fan theories will state that Jumpman was actually Mario's father, but that's pretty soundly debunked by Nintendo themselves now, so don't worry. It could also be referring to how some of Mario's promotional material featuring him hitting a block above him looks a lot like Michael Jordan's Jumpman logo, but I'm pretty sure this is just the Donkey Kong thing. Seeing other areas in the distance in Sunshine. This is just pointing out that in Mario Sunshine, you can see other areas from the game in the distance, like Rico Harbor, Pino Park, Delfino Airstrip, and Corona Mountain, all from Delfino Plaza. Which is interesting because usually in games, they'll have the other levels be completely separate and not in the same area. But these I think are just renderings of the maps in the distance, which is kind of cool as well. Mario hits blocks with hands. This entry is just talking about how most of the time it looks like Mario is jumping up and straight up just hitting the blocks with his head. But if you look closely, he's actually almost always breaking the blocks with his hand, and this is just pointing that out. Super Mario USA. This one's kind of interesting because in 1992, Nintendo decided to re-release the Super Mario Bros. 2 game in the Japanese market again, but they used the version that was released in the States, and it was branded as Super Mario USA. Probably just to sell more copies to make it look like a newer game, but it really is still just Super Mario Bros. 2. Super Mario 128 was the in-studio codename for a possible sequel to Mario 64, obviously being doubled this time, you know? As I'm sure you all know, this was never fully developed and released, but it was actually used as a GameCube tech demo at the Nintendo Space World trade show in 2000. It included a bunch of improvements on the game's physics engine along with improved graphics. This demo version wasn't a complete waste though, because the developers ended up implementing a lot of the code used for this into other games like Pikmin, Metroid Prime, Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, and Super Mario Galaxy. Also relating back to an entry earlier discussing Luigi's possible implementation in Super Mario 64, Miyamoto confirmed that Luigi would have been in the sequel, but sadly, it never happened. Rosalina's mother's only ever seen in Super Mario Galaxy in Chapter 4 of Rosalina's storybook. It details a dream that Rosalina had as a kid that introduced an omen about her losing her mother back on Earth, and we only get this one scene of her face. Her appearance oddly resembles Princess Peach in about every other way, with similar long strawberry blonde hair and peach-colored lips. In March of 2018, an anonymous user on 4chan began posting a series of 10 massive leaks of information that was previously only known by insiders at Nintendo. The leaks continued on into 2020, where they got even more attention. It would take forever to discuss all the data that was leaked, but the most important stuff was the source code for the Super NES, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, DS, 3DS, and a bunch of other system firmware, which made it even easier for people to pirate games and run emulated copies on their computer. This is also where we found the only evidence for Luigi in Super Mario 64 that we were talking about earlier, and we would never have known, Koopalings are not Bowser's kids. Believe it or not, all the Koopalings which appear as mini-bosses throughout the countless Mario games aren't actually related to Bowser at all, much less his kids even. Originally though, they were clearly depicted to be his offspring, but in 2012, Miyamoto said, Nintendo's current story is that the Koopalings are not Bowser's children, which leaves Bowser Jr. as the only confirmed offspring of Bowser together in the Mario canon. Isle Delfino in Mario Odyssey. Isle Delfino is this tropical island resort that's inhabited by the Piantas, Nokis, Yoshis, Sunflower Kids, and Raccoons that was the main setting for Super Mario Sunshine. It appeared in a bunch of other Mario games, especially Mario Kart, where they used a bunch of other maps from there. And it turns out this island could have possibly been planned to be a stage in Mario Odyssey because of this promotional map that was released before the game's launch that features Isle Delfino really discreetly in the lower left of the map. Probably just an Easter egg, but who knows, it could have possibly happened. Hell Valley Sky Trees is an urban legend based on the events of Super Mario Galaxy 2. In World 5's Shiverburn Galaxy, the player can enter first-person mode and look up to the sky where they see these shadowy silhouettes, and they're just kind of up there lurking around. This could just be chalked up to a glitch in how the game renders the skybox in that level, but they're actually seen plenty of other times throughout the game, like in World S and the Grandmaster Galaxy. People even went out of their way to hack into the game files and ended up finding texture files for these three figures, which means someone in the development team purposely put them into the game. Even in the trailer for WarioWare Get It Together, there's a brief clip of a minigame which looks like it features these three people again, and they're gonna appear later on the iceberg, so keep them in mind. You're Mr. Gay is a meme made from the box art for Super Mario Galaxy because if you only look at the letters URMRGAY in the title, they'll appear to spell out the words, and it's just pretty funny, man. Pretty funny stuff. Mario Sunshine Mystery Islands. In the intro sequence to Mario Sunshine, Mario's on this plane and it shows a map of where they're headed, and there's these other islands on the map that aren't shown in the actual game. Each of the islands were shaped like animals, and they're not specifically pointed out to be in the game, but we can infer what places they actually were. The best guess for what's on these islands has to do with the Mario Kart Double Dash track Peach Beach, which is clearly themed after Sunshine, including the Cataquacks, Piantas, and Nookies, the main inhabitants of Delfino Isle. This Mario track is most likely the crab-shaped island, which is shown primarily just the right claw of the crab. There's a bunch of other Mario Kart tracks like this that are interconnected and fill out most of the unexplained areas which are shown on the map. Green Yoshi and Mario Sunshine. In the promo and beta screenshots for Mario Sunshine, it was clear that a classic green Yoshi would be part of the game with Mario to ride around on, but when the game officially launched, it was nowhere to be found, and it was just other different colored Yoshis. There was actually a way to get green Yoshi in the game, but it was only from a hack that would change the game's code around to give the Yoshi a texture of green, but that's about it. L plus R plus A. Pretty much, if you have a copy of New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, there's actually a way to unlock Luigi as the main character instead of Mario, because Luigi usually is just used as the second player for co-op mode. This is done by holding down the L and R buttons, then selecting a file with A at the same time, which makes the save now primarily use Luigi as the main character. Mario 64 Parallel Universe. In Mario 64, there's actually a way to glitch into these sort of parallel universes where the game behaves a little bit differently. I'll be honest with you, the fandom article for this is way too advanced for my little business major brain, because it's saying like any multiple of 2 to the power of 16 in Mario's actual position values will be truncated off the floor check, and stuff also like where absolute value of p is less than 2 to the power of 16 and k is any integer being at the position p plus 2 to the power of 16, along with the z or x axis is equivalent to being at the position p for the floor check. So hopefully y'all realize I don't know how to explain any of this. If you understand computer science and coding, take that as it is, but to put it simpler, it'll just make things like Mario float around in the sky, objects to not appear, hitboxes for entities to be shifted around, and fun stuff like that, essentially. Also, apparently the movement in these parallel universes is comparable to movement through a 5-dimensional space where Mario travels along the Z, Y, X, PUX, and PUZ axes. Crazy stuff. I don't know, take it as you will though. Il Piantissimo is the running man. Il Piantissimo is a human disguised as a Pianta in Mario Sunshine. In the game, he just gives Mario a mission to race to the flag, and it's pretty obvious that he's not actually a Pianta. He portrays himself to be super confident and superior to others, but the local Piantas all just know him as kind of a creep and isn't one of them. Absolute Sigma Andrew Tate male right here. This theory itself though is saying that he's actually the same person as Running Man, which was the original name for Mario in his first game, which we talked about earlier. Obviously this isn't the case since it's been mostly confirmed that Mario and Running Man are the same person, but the theory is definitely interesting and something to think about. Zelda references. Given that both games are made by Miyamoto, it makes sense that there's a lot of references to each other in their own games. Since I don't want the segment to go on for too long, I'll list off a couple. In SMB 3, the Warp Whistle Between Worlds uses the same tune as Zelda does. In the Super Mario Bros. Show, the Quarks defeat King Koopa by playing the Legend of Zelda theme. In Mario Golf, the scoreboard features a bunch of names of characters from Zelda games. And in Super Mario 3D Land, there's a dungeon stage, which when viewed overhead is just a big homage to Zelda, where it's shaped like, you know, a Zelda thing. I don't know. I don't play Zelda. I never did. My mom didn't let me. Okay, Bowsette is this like goth mommy gender swapped version of Bowser that looks like Princess Peach, but if she listened to Deftones. So like peak woman right here. She's usually portrayed to have blonde hair, horns, fangs, spiked collar, and armbands with a black dress. The idea for this character comes from the Super Crown power-up in Super Mario Bros. U for the Switch, where Toadette takes the item and turns into Peachette, but here suggesting that Bowser took the Super Crown and then turned into Bowsette. Birdo's gender. The true gender of Birdo throughout the Mario franchise is kind of neither here nor there, but if you look at it in a different way, Birdo is actually the first transgender video game character. It really does go back and forth with Birdo's gender, as some games will say they're a guy and some will say they're a girl. Pretty interesting stuff though, kinda cool to see that happen. Wet Dry World Skybox. In SM64's Wet Dry World, the skybox mysteriously contains barely visible images of a Middle Eastern city. After writing that last sentence for the script, I went down this really interesting rabbit hole of texture hunting for video games where people spend their time trying to find the publicly available source images used by developers to create in-game textures. But I can't really say much because I just spent an hour time researching this, so who's the real winner here? The source of this skybox texture was recently figured out by user Charlie CN in 2021 to be an image of Shabam, Yemen, and Egypt, which features a mosque in it. It really is just a fascinating story, and I'll say it, one of gaming's greatest mysteries finally solved. Serena Beach is a GameCube controller. This one isn't too complex, it's more just a little Easter egg made by the developers where the Serena Beach level in Super Mario Sunshine, when viewed from overhead, clearly resembles a GameCube controller. Two Luigis. This is talking about how in Super Mario Galaxy, Luigi goes and rescues like another Luigi. It's kind of weird and unexplained in the game, so we just have to kind of accept that there are two Luigis out there. There are a couple of different explanations for why this is. It could be that he's another Luigi that escaped from a separate universe, or a joke played on us by the developers, or that when you play as Luigi, you're actually just Mario dressed up as Luigi, which is hinted at in the game, or it could just be a glitch, you know, who will ever really know, man. Fake speedruns. There are plenty of occurrences of people faking a speedrun in any type of Mario speedrun category. Most of these happen in SM64 speedruns, which is the most popular category of Mario speedruns and is honestly my favorite kind of live stream to watch. The most recent one that I can remember is this guy who very obviously faked a blindfolded SM64 run, which people have done before, but believe it or not, this is actually a really difficult run to pull off, and this guy was definitely not doing it. It was very easily debunked that it wasn't an actual blindfold and he could see through it. Hidden Luigis. There's a bunch of hidden Luigis throughout the main series of games. Most of them though are in Super Luigi U, where he's seen all across levels as Easter eggs hidden in the stage or sometimes just full elements of the course. Mario 3D Land UFO. UFOs show up a surprising amount of times in the Mario series, usually as enemies or a part of level design. However, it shows up in Super Mario 3D Land as a hard to spot Easter egg that can only be seen by using the binoculars in World 1-3. This gray UFO flies through the screen every 90 seconds while looking through the binoculars, just for seemingly no reason other than a cool Easter egg, I guess. Illumination Entertainment Mario movie. This is an animated Mario film that was announced earlier this year and is set to premiere sometime 2023. Right now, all we've really been shown of the movie is the cast, which didn't have the best feedback because, like, Chris Pratt as Mario. Like, I'm not saying it'll be a bad thing, it's just, you know, an interesting choice for Mario. I'm sure he'll do great. Along with that, there's most notably Jack Black as Bowser, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, and Charlie Day as Luigi. I really do hope this movie ends up becoming good because a CGI Mario movie could be pretty fucking cool, but pretty tough competition with the live action Mario movie from the 90s, so good luck to them. Mario Kart 8 Drills. This is a feature that was originally going to be added to Mario Kart 8. It's essentially a drill power-up that would attach, you know, a drill to the front of a cart and let players travel underground past people, but instead it was replaced with the anti-gravity mechanic. I still only play Mario Kart Wii because it's simply just the best version of Mario Kart, but the drill power-up still would have been kind of cool to see put in the game. Book in the Bottle. This entry is a little odd because I'm pretty sure it's just referring to the song Book in the Bottle from Mario Sunshine soundtrack, which sounds kind of cool, but I don't know why it's so low on the iceberg. It's kind of cool, I guess. Yoshi eats dolphins in the Japan version of Super Mario World. This one is exactly how it sounds, alright? In one of the levels for Super Mario World, Yoshi is actually able to gulp up the dolphins, but only in the Japanese version. In other versions, the level is the same, but Yoshi just uses the dolphin to navigate the stage, not exactly eating them. TTYD Crime Scene. This one's kind of dark for Mario, especially Paper Mario, which is even more kid-looking. There's a house in the back alley of Rogueport's main square that can be entered, and when inside, the house is all messed up, and there's a chalk body tracing of a toad on the floor, implying that a toad died there. This is actually only visible visible in the Japanese version of the game, and in the US version it's the same house but there's no chalk outline. GCN Circuit and Mario Kart DS. Pretty much in Mario Kart DS, the track Mario Circuit appears as a retro map that's been updated for the new title. I read everything I could about this, but there's really nothing too crazy on this track, other than it being the first track to include chain chomps, I guess, but I really couldn't figure this one out. Starman Fortress is a level that was planned to be a part of Super Mario Galaxy, but never fully saw the light of day. The only reference to this map in the game is the strategy guide, which shows concept art and has a statement explaining the exclusion of it from the game that reads, "The fortress was designed at the very beginning of development. This is a memorable piece for all of us because it really solidified the idea of the next Mario game that was going to be Super Mario Galaxy. The fortress was rebuilt repeatedly. It really is sad they never perfected this map because it would have been a great addition to the game, but we never really saw it happen." Mario 128 is Pikmin. Remember earlier when I talked about the Super Mario 64 sequel? Well, yeah, this is just building on that, pointing out that the original Pikmin game was made almost entirely from the Super Mario 128 display demo, as they pretty much built into a whole new game that was pretty much basically, Pikmin. Oh my god, good alcohol references in Mario. I personally would never consume something as ungodly as alcohol, that's fucked up, but if I were to, Mario Kart hypothetically, that would be great, right? Well, this entry itself is referring to instances in Mario games where alcohol is referenced or just outright shown. I mean, this happens a good few times in the series, but to point out the obvious, Wario is just a whole ass alcoholic after he was left out of the Mario Bros business, which is where his red nose comes from. I know it's not exactly alcohol, but all the mushrooms he eats also just resemble psychedelics, so Mario's just kinda tripping all the time. Double Dash levels are all connected. This is an Easter egg that can be figured out in Mario Kart Double Dash, where basically, all the levels are connected. Right here from Mushroom Bridge, the Mushroom City and Peach's Castle can be seen off in the distance. On Peach Beach, the Daisy Cruiser yacht and track can be seen out in the ocean. And this one's the most obvious, but Rainbow Road all just takes place above Mushroom City in the sky. NVIDIA Shield port of Galaxy. This is just referring to the NVIDIA Shield version of Mario Galaxy, which can be played on pretty much any device and just runs off of an emulator. It also includes a newly updated 4K texture pack that makes everything look a lot more modern, which is nice since this was just such an amazing game. It's definitely uncanny seeing all these things in high res, but overall it's a really cool feat achieved by fans of the game. The Cug is a Goomba-like enemy that was originally going to be added to Super Mario Sunshine, but was never fully developed, and all we have today left of it is this concept art. Since then, it's only been used in fan games like Super Mario Elemental Journey and Super Wario Odyssey. Looks like a crazy game, honestly. In those games, it would seem to have been just mostly like a normal Goomba, but with the ability to create an electric field around themselves that damages Mario if he comes too close. I've definitely seen the concept art of this enemy at some point, but I have no idea where. Wet Dry World Zelda assets. Again, going back to the assets found within SM64's Wet Dry World, this time there actually turned out to be a lot of Zelda images used within the levels. The texture in question is actually the other way around this time. The texture used for an unopenable door in the level was later reused in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Boo's laugh. There's not actually anything creepy or mysterious about this entry, it's for real just the Boo's laugh. The thing that's surprising me here is the existence of a sound effects subwiki in the fandom website, which I thought I was already deep enough in, but it turns out it gets even weirder, like cataloging sound effects from every YouTube video, game, and other media. Rosalina original design. It turns out Rosalina was actually going to look a lot different in her original design. The teal and white color scheme was still there, but she was overall themed to look a lot more Victorian era with a rumped dress. She also had those white gloves and an older looking hairstyle. I definitely prefer the design that was finalized in Super Mario Galaxy because it just looks a lot more modern and real, and I just hate Victorian women. I'll say it. Ick. Super Mario World credits warp. This is a really weird technical glitch found in Super Mario World that's pretty difficult to explain, but after watching Seth Bling's video detailing the glitch, I'll give it a shot. The glitch is done mostly using an unused part of the memory system called the open bus. Mario specifically uses the item swap glitch here and pauses the game right as it's about to occur. And then like yada yada yada, something RAM and a ROM. But the important part here is when the processor reaches the code that's assigned to handle Yoshi's tongue, it realizes Yoshi's tongue is doing something that should be impossible, which wasn't planned for in the game's development. It then gets way too confused again, but just imagine the processor is trying to read something from the open bus area that I mentioned earlier, and it's just this big empty of code area, and once here, very specific actions can be inputted to send Mario all the way to the credit scene. Seriously, just nuts. Star bits are candy. At first I thought this was just pointing out the clear similarity between star bits and candy, and it wasn't really anything too specific, but it turns out star bits are actually modeled after a really old Japanese candy called konpeito. Probably said that wrong, but I mean, that's alright, man. It looks cool, that's the star candy, you get the idea. Spin-offs are canon. This is pointing out that the whole Mario series and even the spin-off games like Mario Kart, Mario Party, Brawlers, and even WarioWare are meant to all be set in the same universe. Of course, since the Mario franchise is so massive, there are bound to be some errors in tying up a storyline that blankets over the entire game, but the stated goal by Nintendo is that all of the spin-off games are at least somewhat canon. Peach is related to Rosalina. Remember when I was talking about Rosalina's mother and how she resembled Peach a lot? Well, this entry itself is just talking about a theory stating that Peach and Rosalina are related due to their mother's appearance. However, this idea was proven to be false when the developers added a book giving Rosalina's backstory in the Comet Observatory's library. The creators originally planned on actually making them related in some way, but by the time Galaxy released, clearly they had scrapped this idea. Mario Galaxy More. I'm pretty sure that when Super Mario Galaxy 2 was being developed, it was internally referenced to as Mario Galaxy More, which, I mean, fair enough, that makes sense, right? Shindo Pak Taio. In July of 1997, Nintendo decided to re-release Super Mario 64, but most importantly this time with an updated rumble support, which was named the Shindo Pak Taio. Other than adding controller vibration, this new version was described as the international edition of the game and used the English voice acting that was then translated back into Japanese, or whatever language it was being sold in. And the only other thing is that this new version added an Easter egg where you could cover the title screen in Mario faces, so very advanced, interesting stuff. Luigi hanging glitch. In the original Luigi's Mansion game, there's actually a glitch that can be performed that will mess with the lighting engine and cause it to look like Luigi's shadow is just hanging himself on the wall. Toward the end of the game, there's a telephone room where Luigi answers 3 different calls, which sounds normal, right? But if you wait here long enough, lightning will flash and show Luigi's shadow in front of him seemingly hung on the wall. Luckily, in the newer 3DS port of Luigi's Mansion, the lighting engine was reworked and this glitch no longer occurs. 2 King Boos. Given the name of King Boo, anyone would assume, there's only one King Boo because he's the King Boo, right? But it turns out there actually might be canonically 2 different King Boos. In Luigi's Mansion, the true King Boo was captured and stuck there forever, but after that, we still see some sort of King Boo appear through the mainline Mario series, which implies that he's been replaced or completely dethroned by a new King Boo after the original's entrapment. Mario Galaxy Automated GameStop Message. This one is actually really cool and makes sense that it's so far down on the iceberg. Pretty much when the original Super Mario Galaxy was released, Nintendo did a sort of partnership with GameStop where if someone pre-ordered the game, they would be sent a message on their answering machine of the real Mario voice actor letting them know it would be ready in stores tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, and you may know me a little better like this. Hello, it's me, Mario, woohoo! And I'ma call you because I'm here at the GameStop where they're telling me that you pre-ordered my newest and the greatest game, Super Mario Galaxy, woohoo!
Super Mario Bros. Is a spin-off of Donkey Kong. This is just stating that the whole Super Mario Bros. Franchise is technically a spin-off of Donkey Kong. This is, as most of you probably know, because Mario first appeared in a Donkey Kong arcade game as the playable character trying to save the princess. So technically, yeah, I guess this is true. Mario 3D Land Ghost. Okay, hold on, if y'all remember the shadowy figures I talked about earlier that appeared in Super Mario Galaxy, well that wasn't actually their last appearance in the game. In World 4 Stage 4 in Super Mario 3D Land, Mario enters a haunted mansion, but what's important is the ending of the stage right by the flagpole. If Mario waits around long enough looking past the fence, a definitely not cartoony ghostly figure will appear that shockingly resembles the Skybox ghost from Galaxy. After showing up, it kinda just stands there staring at Mario, but then eventually disintegrates away. Along with that, it turns out this creepy figure actually follows Mario all throughout the game, and he can be seen in all the haunted mansion levels secretly hiding at the end of each level. Okay, sorry I had to cut it off there a little bit. I've just been really busy with college and I wanted to give y'all something to watch, so if you want to see a part 2, I will absolutely make that and I'll complete this entire iceberg. It'll be crazy. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you're here, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, have a good one.